We thought the fateful night in 2008 when Shawn Michaels told Ric Flair he loved him before ending his career would be the end for the Nature Boy, but it turned out to be just a break. After a long hiatus, Flair is stepping back into the ring, and this time it may actually be his last match. Here's what we know about this. First up, will it be WWE, Impact, AEW? Turns out, none of the above. This match will not be under any of the major wrestling promotions. Scheduled for the 31st of July, Ric will be fighting at his son-in-law's wrestling fan convention, Starrcade 5 at the Nashville Fairgrounds. The event will be streamed live on FITE TV. The Fairgrounds have been host to many wrestling moments over the years. It used to be called the TNA Asylum since it was a frequent home of the former TNA's events, but it has hosted other smaller promotions too. Now, this isn't the first final match the Nature Boy has had over the years. The first time we thought he was done was way back in 2008, when Shawn Michaels retired him with an emotional sweet chin music at WrestleMania 24. It might be for real this time though. Flair told ESPN that this will be his final walk down the ramp to remind the world for the last time that to be the man, you've got to beat the man. We're actually a little worried about this situation. Flair is 73 years old now and suffered from serious health issues in 2017, including kidney failure. But enough hand-wringing. Time for the most interesting question of all. Who'll he face in this final bout? The opponent hasn't been announced yet, and we figure they'll keep it a surprise as long as they can. What we do know is that Flair's been working hard, training with active AEW wrestler Jay Lethal. Next, we have the many final woos of Ric Flair. The Nature Boy has been in the business for a long time and has seen many wrestlers come and go over the decades he spent in the ring. He first achieved fame in the 80s and 90s fighting the Monday Night Wars on behalf of WCW. Like a lot of WCW wrestlers, he found himself in the WWE after that, where his storied career continued. There was a lot of hype around his match with the Heartbreak Kid, and the two of them put on a show that fit WrestleMania's image as a showcase of the Immortals. With teary eyes, he left the WWE stage and ended up in TNA 2 years later. He didn't last long at TNA, and you wouldn't be surprised to hear that TNA didn't really know what to do with a wrestler of his caliber. His sunset came to an end in 2011 with the actual last match that he ever wrestled, against his old WCW pal Sting. That match lacked a lot of the drama that went into his final WWE fight because it wasn't supposed to be his last. What happened was that Flair suffered an injury in the ring that put him out of commission for a bit. He may have done some thinking in that time, but when asked why he was trying to terminate his TNA contract in 2012, he explained that it was Jerry Lawler's on-screen heart attack that inspired him to hang up his boots for good. It's not like he was never seen again after that. His daughter Charlotte is tearing up the women's division of the WWE, and he's made many appearances at her side. But when it came to actually busting heads, he kept his word, until now. So, whose chops will Flair bust? Supposedly, this climax of Flair's career doesn't have an opponent yet. That makes sense. The match is more than a month out right now. While we can only wonder who might be Flair's final opponent, a few possible candidates have been ruled out. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat has come out and said he will not be facing off against Flair. There was some rumbling that he might join the Rock and Roll Express in a tag match against Flair and FTR, but Steamboat has poured water over those rumors. He spent a week sleeping on it, but ended up declining because he didn't want to tarnish the memories his fans had of his final matches against Chris Jericho. That's fair. To be honest, they were good matches to end a career on, and he must be totally out of form by now. Could this match be the chance for Flair to finally sort out his grievances with Scott Steiner? Well, let's just say that we hope Steiner isn't seeing us put this idea forward. The last time someone suggested he join Flair's final match, Scott had a bit of an outburst. There's bad blood between the two going all the way back to WCW, and things haven't cooled off enough for Steiner to consider fighting Flair. The most exciting possibility that has been shot down was Hulk Hogan. According to Flair, Hogan has been invited to attend, but he's yet to confirm if he'll even show up to the match. The in-ring rivalry between these two started way back in WCW, and the two were battling each other as recently as their TNA days. But the unfortunate reality is that Hogan has had 23 surgeries in just this decade. There's no way he's fit enough to wrestle. We'd bet that he'll be in attendance, just don't hold your breath for him to get in the ring. Time for some other news, starting with Triple H leaves his boots in the ring. One of Ric Flair's Evolution allies also retired from the ring this year. Sadly, he didn't get to set the terms of his retirement. Triple H had backed backed off from wrestling since the end of the Authority era, but look at him. He's still got the build of a man who can send you back up the ramp on a stretcher if you messed with him. But he revealed on the First Take podcast that he'd suffered an extreme cardiac event last year, quite literally a brush with death. And in the aftermath, he was fitted with a pacemaker and strictly banned from competing. After calling a start to WrestleMania 38 this year, he left his boots in the ring. The game is over. All good things must come to an end, and Triple H sure proved in his career that he's an all-time great. We're just sad that he didn't get to have a proper retirement match like he deserved. His final match was a tag match in Japan with Shunsuke Nakamura against Samoa Joe and Robert Roode. Decent, all things considered, but the match wasn't even televised. The last match wrestled against a live audience was at Super Showdown 2019 against Randy Orton. That was a humdinger of a match, and losing to Randy Orton ironically became a fitting end for Hunter's career. Next, what about the rest of Evolution? Those of us who came up with the WWE during the Ruthless Aggression era have fond memories of Evolution. A take on the Four Horsemen, Evolution had an amazing storyline together and introduced us to some of WWE's best wrestlers. Alas, 2 of Evolution's members are quitting the ring this year, and that makes us wonder, what about the rest? Batista, the tank of the group, left the WWE long before 2022. The Animal has been powerbombing his way through Hollywood, and we're here for it. We all know him as Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, but the man really got to flex his acting abilities in Blade Runner 2049 and Dune. We miss having him wrestle, but honestly, he's doing really well for himself. The Legend Killer, meanwhile, has become the Viper. Randy Orton has been going strong in the WWE. Evolution got him started in the business, and he remains a top-tier fighter in the ring. Recently, his RKO from nowhere became a meme outside the wrestling fandom, and he was caught up in that bizarre feud with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss. Nowadays, he's in a tag team with Slipper Chucker, Matt Riddle, and it's great. We're not ready to lose Orton just yet, and he isn't ready to go either, saying that he's got another 10 years in him at the very least. And finally, an ode to The Undertaker. Speaking of wrestlers going on their final rides, another one of wrestling icons recently quit the business too. While many fans and veterans are questioning why Rick would get back into the ring at the age of 73, The Undertaker would probably understand where Flair's coming from. Though Taker is quite a bit younger than Flair, he too spent a long time in search of the perfect ending to his career. That led him to make an appearance after an ill-advised appearance at WrestleManias, ostensibly to defend his infamous streak. But even after Brock Lesnar broke the streak, Taker stuck around. The match that ended up being his last wasn't even a real match. The COVID-19 pandemic pushed the WWE to get creative, and that gave us the Boneyard match. Shot more as a movie than a traditional wrestling match, we got to see The Undertaker ride in on a bike and spook AJ Styles before burying him alive. It was genuinely fun and cheesy in exactly the right way for an Undertaker bout. Taker must have felt so too, because he finally called his career with that, making his farewell official at Survivor Series that year. That's it for our wrestling news today. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.